Welcome to Ahman Green's Gamers Lounge. I'm your host, Ahman Green, and my man 20 Grand John Audius, he is on spring break now. So I'm gonna bring in our guest a little sooner because he's gonna help me out with this whole show today. Our good friend and our media guy, Mr. Jeremy Schwick, man. Jeremy, how you doing, man?
Hey, great to be here, man. Great to be here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, like I mentioned, John is on spring break with his daughter and wife and doing some fun things. They're traveling. Okay, he texted me where they were going, but regardless, they're going to have fun. I know that much. So I will put all the little fun little details up here and get things started. So from last week's show, I was just talking with Jeremy off stream. So welcome everybody into the show. We're gonna talk about myself, talk about Jeremy, some of the trending topics in the sporting world when we get or in the esports world when we get the quick hit news bites, and then have that great fun conversation of this or that, and then game releases and what's on stream. And what's on stream is Mandalorian season 3, episode 4. 5 drops tonight, and it
Can't
is
wait.
getting so good.
It's getting great, man.
Some lightsabers and just history chunks from the past that we never saw with flashbacks of little Grogu. I think are so dope. I love little dude. I can't wait to see him in his suit. We'll talk about it, and it's gonna be some spoilers, people. So if you have not watched Mandalorian, you want to mute it when we get to that part of conversation. But like I said, just been busy since last week's show. Traveling back and forth between here. I say I was coming back from Boston, went to like a college esports um, convention, college esports expo, and then E3 or PAX East, and then now back here in Lincoln, Nebraska, Jeremy. So that's what I've been up to, and I know what you've been kind of helping us out for how long has it been? I was trying to think about it. I'm like, how long has it been? Has it been
About,
almost a year?
it's been quite a while, about 4 or 5 months, I'd have to say. Maybe,
Okay.
maybe not a full year yet, but
Yeah. So about
I
halfway to a
definitely,
year.
it's been a little while.
Right. So Jeremy, man, he is a guy like as we said, jack of all trades. He knows a lot about what he helps us with. He does a lot of our all our clips that you see go posted on the Instagram, on TikTok, on Twitter, and he does between doing our own thing, he does his own as well. But he's born in Guatemala City, Guatemala, and then raised in Wisconsin. Now that's a special combination. I don't. You're definitely one of many that very few that I know with that combination there. So he had obviously become, I say, a Midwest Packer fan there a little bit, probably, Jeremy,
Oh,
right?
always 100%. I am definitely an owner of the 13-time world champion Green Bay Packers.
There, spoken like a true Packer fan right there. So he has also experience in content creation. He's an historian, which I love because I was a geography major, and obviously part of geography we study history of the world, of United States, of Europe, of Asia, Australia, South America. All the parts, India, of the planet that has been habitated by us humans. So a curator or archivist and has passion for history and education and social media as well. So he's known on the social media channels as the average historian, which I know I mentioned from time to time here on the show. So, so why the average historian, Jeremy?
So one of
What
the
was the name? What was the planning behind that tag, your handle in the social media space?
Yeah, man, the average historian kind of came from the fact that I feel like I'm kind of the average guy. Uh, a lot of people joke background's education as well. I give those favorite social studies teacher vibes when I talk to people. And then they realize that I have a master's degree in public history. I
Right.
play rugby. If you're from Wisconsin, it's kind
Oh
of
man,
good
you
chance to
speaking
drink
my
beer.
language right there. Rugby. Woo, I love it.
You can talk about it. Just I can talk about just about anything and get along with just about anyone. So that's really where the average historian part came from. Those kind of experiences, that has led to kind of extraordinary experiences, combining my love for history and of course sports. So it's been a great ride so far.
Okay, you got rugby, man. So how are you still playing it now?
Yeah, yeah, man. So little check in. I'm used to how the flow of the show goes. So last weekend I was actually in
Right.
Tennessee playing in a tournament there with the Wisconsin Rugby Club. My club, the Milwaukee Barbarians. We didn't
Oh, I
send a
played
team.
against y'all. Must it was like so I did it back in like 2014, twenty
Okay,
thirteen. So I did play against those guys. I know
yeah,
those guys. They're
yeah.
good,
So
good
if
team.
you ever want to come out of retirement, the Milwaukee Barbos will always have you. If you want to throw on those cleats one more time, we'd love to have you. But did
You
that
gotta
tournament
talk to
this
my
weekend.
agent Marie Green. You gotta talk to my wife there. She's like, "No, you did." Like she didn't even want me doing that. She's like, "What are you doing? Playing rugby? You just got out of football. Now you have no pads on." I said, "Babe, but I just gotta, I got a little itch. I gotta scratch it. It's
Hey,
fun." What position were you on the
so
pitch?
I play hooker number two,
Oh, okay.
number two on the pitch, but number one in your heart.
I like it. He's been watching a lot of games there. Oh man, so let me see what we got here. So professionally, what I say you worked with several institutions ranging from a historic photography museum to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Is that one in Canton, correct? And the
Correct,
College Football Hall of Fame. Oh, so how was that? Because I mean, I've been to those. I haven't been to the College Football Hall of Fame, and I think that's in Georgia, right?
correct, Atlanta.
Atlanta. All right. So how was working and just being a fan of both of obviously the game, working with those institutions there.
Man, it was an absolutely incredible experience. In 2016, I was fortunate enough to be an intern at the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton. And 2016 was also the year Brett Lorenzo Favre was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
So we probably walked past
So,
each other because I was there. I was at his induction in Canton. I went to it, so they had a little party for all his friends and family, teammates, and everything. So we might have just kind of did one of those boats in
oh,
the night, walk past,
we
didn't even know.
we definitely might have walked past each other. I'm sure I was running around like a little ant trying to make sure everything was going according to plan. But
Right,
after you get to do something like that, being a kid from Wisconsin, having your favorite quarterback be inducted into the Hall of Fame,
right, right.
it really made the kind of idea and dream a reality. I was fortunate enough to go to school at the University of Wisconsin Eau Claire,
Okay, up north, yeah, a
and
little bit up north.
the guy who started the Patriots Hall of Fame, Brett Hensel, he's now the curator for the Packers Hall of Fame.
Oh,
We
okay,
went to the same grad school. Our professors kind of saw us on the same trajectory, so they reached out to him. That we got in contact, and he helped me get the internship at the Pro Hall.
nice, nice. So yeah, about doing your work, being ready to go, but then it doesn't matter. It doesn't I said it helps a little when you know somebody in the space. I tell people that all the time, or I get asked that question, how do you get there and how do you get to certain, how you get that job? And I'm like, well, for one, a lot of it in any industry is basically all who you know. And then once it is who you know, you get in there, then it's about you knowing the job. So make sure the reason they brought you in that you're able to do it and do it at a high level. So you done archivist for the Wisconsin Black History Society. So that's in Milwaukee, right?
Correct, correct.
Yep, I've
So
seen it. Yeah, because I've always drove down to Milwaukee a lot, probably over 1,000 times in my life, being living in Wisconsin for 22 years, and I would see the Wisconsin Black History Museum. That was like right before you hit the interchange going from downtown going into taking the freeway into South Milwaukee. So tell us
correct.
about that experience there.
Yeah, so it's been an incredible experience. I moved on from the College Football Hall of Fame, where I was the historian and curator in Atlanta, Georgia, for the last 4 years.
Mm,
I found this new opportunity. Being from Wisconsin, I had always realized I was ready and I wanted to eventually move back to Wisconsin. But the beauty in this and the beauty of the experience is it was much more a choose your own adventure, a type of position. Instead of with the museum field, it's very competitive. A
mm-hmm.
lot of times you are signing 8 months, 9 months, 10-month contracts to stay a little while and knowing it's going to be up. The clock starts when you start.
Right.
This opportunity I was able to kind of feel out, and it was a really exciting, new experience being back where I wanted to be,
Mm-hmm.
but having the ability to keep the sports interest and museum interest alive and well.
Gotcha, gotcha. Big B, yeah. Hopefully the audio is adjusting right. I haven't hit no buttons. Just watching the chat here, Jeremy, and then what I was gonna say. Oh, I gotta run and real quick and do our sponsor read, Bet Online. Usually John does it, and so with me kind of being doing many things here, I'll get the read going. So basketball is back, as we know. I've been watching. You know what I've been doing, Jeremy and Chad? I've been watching the ladies NCAA final of bracketing, and I watched the Elite Eight where what's her name? Caitlin Clark. She had a 40-point double double. I'm like baller. And then
Baller.
um, Dawn Staley and her South Carolina what's the Gamecocks win and get into the Final Four, and they're playing against each other this Friday. So I'm excited about that. So BetOnline remains your number one source of your sports betting needs. This season, you'll always find the latest odds, team matchup information, player news, game trends, and as your confirmed source for all your sports wagering information, BetOnline features live betting, free contests, and giveaways all season long. Always the fastest and easiest way to bet on your favorite sporting events, whether it's the NFL, NBA, NCAA maybe is a part of that as well. NHL, MMA, tennis, boxing, and even esports and golf. I think esports is a little bit more entertaining than golf. That's just my opinion. I'll roll with that. So head to betonline.ag to join and receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use the promo code BLEAV to receive your reward. So betonline, where the game starts. And right now, Jeremy, I'll start with some of the other questioning that we have in our show here. And the one question usually lead it off, but with you and I knowing each other already, the show format. So I was like, get you right in for the check-in side of it. But now for the some of the fun questioning, you answered some great questions already. You filled us in on what you do. But the gaming question now comes up. So what is your gaming origin story? How old were you? What game was it? And who was it that got you in there? Mom, dad, uncle, brother, cousin, best friend down the street? And just tell us that story.
Yeah, man. Since I can remember, it was always N64,
Mm.
but a little even before that, my grandpa had a Nintendo Duck Hunt, the
Ooh.
Mario, and I still remember playing that. Me and my cousins and my sister. That was always something fun to play at Grandpa's house. We got to pull it out every once in a while, and I mean that's really one of my first core gaming memories.
Mm-hmm.
And then I upgraded a little bit to the Nintendo 64 and PlayStation 1. So that Crash Bandicoot, man, that will
Ooh.
always be my, being on the shores of Insanity Beach is one of my favorite memories from that first game. He washes up on shore,
Yep.
and that game was low key really hard.
It
That
was.
that first one for being a first game.
Yeah. So remind me, because obviously I haven't played Crash in an eternity. What was the plot of the game? What was he?
If I recall,
What was he supposed to do?
Doctor Nero or
Yeah, I remember Dr. Nero.
he stole some. I can't even
Of
remember.
course, he's like
It's been
Eggman
so
from
long.
Sonic. He steals something.
Yep.
So it's always that villain, and it was he was a comical, kind of like Eggman from Sonic the Hedgehog. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was my game too. Crash, that and Sonic. Crash was it? It was PlayStation One. Was it on there, or was it on the Nintendo 64?
Sorry, what was that? You're cutting out a
Or
little bit.
yeah, Crash. Was it originally on N64 or was it on PlayStation as well?
Play. It
PlayStation
was
One.
on. It was on PlayStation.
PlayStation One. That's what I
Yeah.
thought. I remember
Yeah.
playing that because my brother. That was about the time I got to college, and my older brother he had it, and we would play it. Every time I came over to his crib. I would turn that on, play a little bit of I think he always got the one think the games that make you think. He had I remember on Super Nintendo he had oh no, it might have been on PlayStation. It was IntelliCube where you but the blocks were like rolling down and you had to make
Yeah.
sure you had to eliminate them before your character got knocked off or run over. You had to line them up, kind of like Tetris, where you see the blocks coming down, and
Oh yeah.
you move them to where you need to be, and if you don't do it fast enough, they fall off the map, and then you lose points or you lose a life. So yeah, that was one of my things there. So how long have you been in the editing and content creating space?
So I know we talked a little bit, earlier
Yeah,
before we went live, but right around 2018 is really when I started to get interested. At first, I think like a lot of us with social media, I started looking at it as more of a consumer than I was a practitioner and understanding how it actually worked.
right.
Instead of just scrolling, I started to kind of learn how it all worked and how I could potentially be a part of it. As we talked, another reason was a little bit of monetary reason. I was trying to not be completely broke with a master's degree while working a full time job in a museum. When you're also still eligible for food stamps, you need to start kind of plotting and finding ways to earn that extra income. And man, I just started, spent 40 hours on YouTube and talking to Dr. Google and
Right.
just learning kind of the ropes of it, and that's really how I got started.
Okay. Yeah, because that finding that next step, finding that hustle, it is you find out what you're made of, and you find out what you probably didn't think you could get done or do. You be like, man, because sometimes that certain pressure, because that was pressure, you know, and that was pressure, and then sometimes people either think too much, and or some people just react to the moment, and then boom, it works out. And I think when you react more than thinking, you could think later, you could think at other times. There's times where you got to think things out, put out a game plan, write it down on paper, type it out on the computer. But then sometimes your first reaction is most likely your best reaction, and kind of that's what it sounds like there. You're reacting to your situation in life right there.
I I
And
I,
so
com- I completely agree, man. I think so
yeah.
much of it is leaning into that pressure. When you start to feel it, I've learned now because I get it every once in a while. I'm like, when I feel that pressure kind of pushing back on me, I'm excited because that means you're on the next. It's the next step, and I
Right.
think it's so much just taking the next right step. You don't really know one way or the other how it's actually going to turn out. We can't decide left and want to know what's going right. It's kind of just making that next right step.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And so, like I said, I clicked on your profile on the Instagram. I clicked the link tree, and I saw. I'm thinking, okay, like I know of what you help us with. You help us here on the Gamers Lounge. You help out with the Green and Go G Lounge with Dorsey Levens and Gilbert Brown and myself. But I knew you probably worked with a few other companies. But when I started scrolling, I was like, woo! I was like, okay, he's doing. I knew you were doing stuff. I know this was your job, but I really saw. So, tell us more about like other companies you work with and how you help them out to make their podcasts or their talk show a little bit better in terms from your point of view, being in the social media space.
Yeah, man. So much of it is just creating that content, creating that level of connectivity. I think one of the beautiful things about social media nowadays is the fact that it gives you that extra step closer to your favorite host or your favorite athlete. And I'm just
Hmm.
impressed about how much athletes have really taken full advantage of that, both in the esports space, but also on the professional level. I love seeing all these new podcasts start to develop, and
Hmm.
it gives you behind the scenes. I think, honestly, in Wisconsin, we get spoiled because we have our favorite players. I mean, we're one of the few pro teams that makes our head coach go on live TV every week to talk about the game.
A
Talk to
hundred
Larry.
percent.
Yeah, talk to Larry McCarron and learn that's something is unheard of. When I lived in Atlanta, people were like, "What do you mean your coach goes on like public television to
Right.
talk about the week's game?" And so, I think podcasts kind of provide that same thing to obviously a larger audience where you can really share those what the players are thinking if they were
Hmm.
at the game during the game, or if they were alumni like you guys, man. Hearing you guys share those stories, I mean, I'm laughing so hard I'm nearly crying when I'm editing because either giving Gilbert a hard time or Gilbert's putting something on himself.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you about that because you brought that. You text me that one time when you text me the drive information. Yeah, he does it to himself because he is with us as he is like we were still playing in the locker room. So like I mentioned, Dorsey's been around with him longer. I mentioned this last week, and they were teammates first before I pulled up. I was a young buck, and Dorsey goes in on him so hard. So what about the speaking of that? So what about the other shows that you curate, you make clips for and edit? There or is there any other interaction like what you get with us?
No, not quite, man, not quite. A lot of times it's cutting up video for them, or creating graphics and things like that. Those have been primarily with the shows or with the videos they're doing. It's for me. This has been the most. These have been the most two exciting ones for me.
Right.
The other ones have been great. It's again honing that craft and learning new ways to edit, new challenges that arise. For example, going through audio when audio isn't exactly
Okay.
there, we jump in. I can jump in and I save the audio files locally, which means I'll always have the clean cut audio. So it
Hmm.
makes it editing a little easier. So it's with those, it's been fun learning as I go. I think it's
Hmm.
again making those next right steps, seeing what might work, what doesn't work, and just continue to kind of move on from there each time.
Right. Right. So, have you? And I think you might have mentioned it. Have you taught or done a class on some of what you do?
So I've been fortunate enough to do quite a few interviews, a lot of
Okay.
more in the history space, the
Right.
museum space. I've done everything from the New York Times to ESPN to CNN, talking about the history of football. Um,
Gotcha.
the next chapter has kind of been. I was fortunate to guest lecture a couple classes at Georgia Tech
Oh,
on just
nice.
museums and kind of how you can potentially create careers out of it. And of course, I guess a little bit combining your passions of sports and history and really making it work is one of those exciting things. I think people, especially for example, like a LinkedIn, you see all the things you've done in order to get to where you are.
Right.
With them, a lot of times I shared, okay, well, at one point I worked at a daycare in grad school, learning how to
Yeah.
change diapers when I was 25.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
You do a little bit of everything. I worked second shift, cleaning bathrooms while I had a full time job putting up gas station posters in the middle of the city. And I think sharing those experiences has been one of those, incredible, I think, lessons for me and for others. But I'm really excited because I'm starting to get into the talking about my expertise in the social media space as well.
Right. Yeah, I've seen you do that on LinkedIn, a couple of videos, and on Instagram too. Because the space that you're in, obviously, and I tell, and I've learned this on my own that I'm like, man, I saw when I started streaming in 2016 how learning the process of being a content creator, of getting your logo, your your brand out there, and I was like, okay, I knew right away, okay, I'm gotta get savvy at this posting stuff. Posting at that time, it was no TikTok. It might have, I know it was like Vine was around, but then Facebook, Twitter, Instagram was there, and so it just was like it's another little thing you got to learn, just like any other thing, like being in my world of football, where as a running back you learn, okay, you already know how to hold on to the ball. Now you got to learn how to catch the ball at the backfield, or you got to learn how to pick up the blitz, or you got to learn how to read a defense pre-snap, all that stuff. So just having the tools to do that, obviously for a content creator, and what I love about it when I first got into streaming, was that being a content creator, it really teaches you your the discipline and the hard work, like you mentioned, that it takes to be just, I say between successful or just being noticed. Because when you put in consistent work out there, then people will take notice and people will, reach out to you, ask questions or say, hey, can you come on the show or can you help me with this? And I know, you being a fan, you saw our show and reached out to me, and so that was just something where I'm like, man, this is a big help right here, So that's why right away, all the time, I'm like thanking you and appreciating you, because I know the work that goes into that. Because I even know you help us with making the clips, they still got to get posted. So I'm posting them, I'm getting them out there to everybody. I believe Dorsey does it too, and John and Notorious Afro, that's part of the gaming lounge here. We all get the stuff out there, because that's the hard. Sometimes, it's the time in the day that we don't have, and you help out with that. So, man, like I said, I greatly appreciate you. I say for anybody in the chat, anybody listening in and watching, what would be some of your, I say, words of knowledge and information for them to say, hey, this is what you could do. This is a job, but this is how you would get good at it to become a career, to make it a career. What would you tell somebody, a young person?
Just start. Don't worry about all the equipment, all of that, because I feel like it's that analysis paralysis. You're like, I need the best mic, I need the best camera, I need the best light. Just start. I mean, we all have a phone. That thing is so powerful that most presidents didn't even have that kind of technology. So it's so much of it is just starting. And my biggest thing is networking, man. It is such a game changer to level up in whatever career you might have. So, and I'd say 9 times out of 10, most people are always willing to talk. Find a way to provide value. Don't go in for the ask instantly, because those people on LinkedIn get left in the LinkedIn purgatory, where I'm not really going to bother responding them because they just asked me to join their mastermind course and maybe spelt my name wrong or something like that. So it's finding ways to provide value to whoever you're trying to get to, getting closer to people that you want to become. If you're interested in museums, reach out to museum people and ask, hey, if I'm in the area, could I follow you around for a day? Just finding ways to really learn while school's great. I think that real life experience is super important for just about any kind of field you might want to go into.
Got it. And I saw you put some information in the run of show. You got some questions for me you want to throw at you. So I'm ready for that. So let me put this tab up here. I'm like, I like answering questions. I've been doing that for so long, 30, I would say a very long time, for years. So what are some of your questions, Jeremy? Shoot them at me.
Yeah, man. So first, I'd be remiss not to say my folks say hi. My pops was super excited. He's probably the reason I became a Packers fan, and so he was super excited to kind of hear about all this, and just he told me he wanted to let you know, loved watching you in the green and gold. Great memories with that. So we definitely appreciate it.
Okay, cool. You're welcome. Go Pack over there.
Hey, the Packers all-time leading rusher is pretty cool to talk to. But going off that, man, when did you realize that the league was an actual possibility?
It was here when I was on campus at Nebraska as a freshman, my freshman year, and it was after whatever that year, 1995, that third game of the regular season we played, because we already played Oklahoma State in Oklahoma in Sweetwater, and then we went to East Lansing to play Michigan State, and in both those games I scored my first touchdown in an Oklahoma State game. I had over 100 yards in the Michigan State game and a touchdown. And now I think our third game was against Arizona State, and they had Jake Plummer. They had a good team, and we beat them pretty bad. And I had 2 touchdowns in that game. So after that game, that's when I'm like, I'm playing against these are the one percenters at the college level. So to myself in my head, which I was very cerebral, I didn't talk a whole lot as a kid, as a young freshman. So I said in my head, I was like, if I could do this, and I'm looking at their rosters, I see Jake Plummer on the other team. I see these guys that on the defense that's going to get drafted first, second, third rounds. And I was like, and Oklahoma State at Michigan State. And I'm like, if I could play against these guys, I got a shot. So that's where I said I had a shot, not that I could play there, but I knew then, and that's all I needed as a kid. You tell me I got a shot, or there's a chance or there's an opportunity, I took full advantage of just that line that was said to me, and then did everything within my power to do that, accomplish that goal.
Excellent, excellent.
Mm.
I guess my next one, man, being a Packers Hall of Famer, what does that mean to you? With a storied franchise that's older than the NFL, 1919,
Right.
NFL was for 1921. Just what does that mean to you, man?
It means a lot because for one, it was nothing on my goal sheet, like or nothing planned, because I know I had like high goals. My biggest goals as a drafted rookie to Seattle was the first one was as a running back, I wanted to pass Walter Payton for all time at that time. And then obviously a few years later, Emmitt Smith became then. So I was like, I don't know about 19,000, but I'm going to put it up there. Never know. But the main goal was still Walter Payton because that was my idol. That was the reason I ran the way I ran, prepared my body in the offseason the way he did it, running hills and lifting weights and doing everything within reason to recover and get better, get stronger. So then once I got traded to Green Bay, like I grew up watching them. I mean, I remember, telling Dorsey and Gilbert that, hey, man, I watched you guys, beat the Patriots in New Orleans. I watched that game as a sophomore at Nebraska in the players lounge during the offseason, before spring ball. And so I was a fan of the sport. And so when I got traded there, I was like, man, I'm going to a special place. Like I already knew because I was a sports fan. I watched what the Packers done. I had watched what the Bulls, the Lakers, Dodgers, Yankees, the Bruins, the LA Kings in hockey, like Olympic athletes. Like that's all I did in between playing video games, watching traditional sports, staying out of trouble at home, with my mom and dad. That was kind of like me. So I knew that stuff. And so when I got traded there, I was like, okay, this is gonna be cool. And then I was like, dang it, I gotta go back to the Midwest. But from a football sense, the organizational sense, I said, man, I'm going somewhere special because in my head I kept saying to myself, this is the Yankees of football. This is the Yankees of football because that means they have a different standard of gameplay among the players. A guy by the name of Vince Lombardi was their head coach way back when. That set a precedent. I mean, the trophy's named after him. He earned through his coaching style and his players buying into the culture that his name got put on a trophy that is now celebrated. When you go to the Super Bowl, you win, you raise that trophy, his name is on it. So I'm like, I'm at that place, and it wasn't, even thinking all that is sometimes mostly overwhelming, but it wasn't. I was like ready for it. Like I wanted to show that I could be the best Ahman I could be. And walking in that first huddle in minicamp, it was Brett, it was Mark Tauscher, Chad Clifton, Mike Flanagan, Marco Rivera, and Mike Wall. And I think I might name more linemen than that, but those guys were all there. Then I think it was Bill Schrader, Donald Driver, and William Henderson all in the huddle. And then a few plays later, Bubba was in there. He was our first round draft pick that year. So just seeing that huddle and like knowing him back in my head that most of those guys, Frankie Winters actually was the first one, and then Brett, like those guys had been in a Super Bowl, and some of them guys on the team, like Dorsey, like Gilbert, like Leroy, Santana Johnson, Bernardo Harris, had been to 2 Super Bowls, won one, lost one. That means they knew how to get there, with the players on that staff. So I was like, all right, I'm here to help my team get back to the Super Bowl. Just like when I got to Nebraska, my goal was to help this team get back to a national title. They had won one against Miami the previous year. And so, I was like, all right, it's my job to help this team. Whatever I got to do, I got to punt, be the water boy, do whatever I need to do to help this team win. So that's why that was my mindset going in there. When I found out I was coming in as a Packer now.
Excellent. So, man, I gotta know, did you ever collect your own sports cards or any of your own, memorabilia? I know I see AJ Dillon collecting everything. Giannis collects his cards.
I say more my family does. I'm very humble, and I do have stuff now. I mean, the cool thing was like my rookie year in Seattle, all the card companies, so Topps, Upper Deck, Donruss, Fleer, that was around. I don't know who's around now. Panini maybe. They do it now. They send me my cards. So back then, I know at the end of my rookie year, I got this box sent to my house, in Seattle, and I opened it up and had all my rookie cards in it. I'm like, oh, this is dope. You know, it's from Topps, and then another box came from Fleer like a couple weeks later. So it was pretty cool. And now I get stuff. I still work with Panini. They send me some stuff to sign, and I'll get stuff sent back to me, you know, as a memento for my collection. I collected my own cards as a kid too. I did it probably from like 19. It wasn't long. It was like 2 years, like 89 to 90 or 88 to 90, where I had football, baseball, basketball, even some hockey cards in my book. I still have my book, and the cards are still in there, so they're still almost basically mint condition. So one day I'm gonna definitely open that thing up, go to wherever you could tell me where to go and put them to put them for auction.
Exactly.
Because I know I have Michael Jordan, Walter Payton, Bo Jackson, Marcus Allen, Joe Montana. I might even have Brett in there. I gotta look. I don't know if I did or not, but yeah, I got my own little card connection too. I just haven't got into the card breaks as we see some guys like AJ does and other people that do on Instagram.
That's funny. That's cool. I had to, pull out a couple cards I got of yours.
Nice, the rookie.
The rookie card, man.
Yep,
and
my
then
first
I remember,
year as a Packer.
As a kid, I got it signed from Ahman Green.
Oh.
At one of those little, sports camps you go to as a kid. My NFL dreams didn't quite pan out.
That's okay.
Being 5'6" on a good day, it gets a little tough to get in there.
Yeah, that's
I'm
all
like,
good.
But you being a gamer, man, do you collect anything?
Well, you see behind me, I got. Well, let me see. Right there. There's Sonic, and then Thanos Gauntlet is up there. And if you see right there, that's a Sonic. That's part of the game. When you first start the Sonic game, the first one, it's the trees, the palm trees. Actually, I'll just grab it since it's right behind me.
I know collectors like showing off their collection.
So I'm a Legos guy on top of that. So you see that? That's in the office.
That's what's up.
Yep, I put that together a few weeks ago. I was like, yeah. And so Legos partnered obviously with Nintendo and Sega Genesis, which is a very smart partner move for us gamers and for them as well, making a ton of money. So yeah, I didn't get to do my podcast in the podcast room because it was booked already. I was like, dang it, but I got the book. I booked it for the rest of the semester, so I'm gonna be there.
I love it.
But but if I'm not, I'm gonna be in here, and you're gonna see the Lego collection grow. My plan is to bring in anything that's video game area to come in behind the walls, in the shelf, stuff like that.
I love it, man. And we already talked about this one, but I had to pick up the thrift store find, man.
Of course, I think I have that one at home.
Hey,
I got the green jersey on that one.
I love it. I love it, man. I got two more. Did you play as yourself on Madden?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
You pad your stats?
What's that?
I said, did you pad your stats?
No, I mean I gave myself the ball a lot. But the cool thing is I had to not only had the chance to play myself on Madden, but I played myself on Bill Walsh College football back in 1995 because that's when that image, that a name, image, and likeness kind of started up, for players, the EA Sports, and now glad as everybody knows, 2024, I think it's NCAA 24 is coming out in the fall. It's been blocked up because of the whole NIL stuff, but now it's back. So yeah, I had an opportunity to play with my college football character or avatar and my Madden avatar as well. So I thought that was pretty cool because I'm being a gamer, it was like, oh man, this is so dope. My stiff arm was mean too on Bill Walsh. It was a mean stiff arm.
I love it. I got two more. One, man, what is something you'd say to your younger self? Like a piece of advice.
A piece of advice. I would have to say, because I think about this, because I've been asked this question more than once, and I've always thought of trying to get an answer down, and I'm like, it's really hard. Because I was a kid that listened. Like, I would listen to, especially any adult that came across, because I know, as most kids probably don't know, listen to your parents or listen to your elders. So I learned a lot by doing that. My older brother, my mom and dad, teachers, coaches. So I was like always tuning into what they're saying and doing it. And something that I would say to myself as a kid would be, Mm. Because I know I'm gonna get asked this question again, so I'll remember this for now. I'll say one thing I would say was don't be so hard on yourself. Because I was my hardest critic. And anything I did wrong, from not passing the test, if I did something as a kid, getting in trouble with my mom and dad, I would be in a room on punishment. But then on top of that, I'm punishing myself more, excuse me, mentally. Um, Playing a video game, I would sit there and get. I didn't rage. I only raged once in my life, so this is beyond that. So I'll put the controller down and then like go outside, get some fresh air. Like, all right, Madden, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna beat this game, right? So yeah, not be as hard as that, because I was really super hard. And maybe another one pops up. Probably not as, I say I was a little serious for my age. Like I didn't like I had so many goals where, of getting to college, getting my degree, graduating high school to going to the NFL. Like I didn't smell the roses sometimes, because I was so intense on that, and people around me knew that. Because even when I see them now, if I haven't saw friends that I grew up with, they'd be like, "Man, we knew you were going to the league. Like you were so, serious when we played pickup football in the neighborhood. Like that's how half of us quit playing, because you were hitting us like you had pads on already." You were so focused on catching the ball and running somebody over or doing whatever, and we was like, yeah, once we saw you, get drafted, or we heard about you in Green Bay, we was like, that's no surprise. I mean, he was already doing that. So I say smell the roses a little bit, have a little fun. When I was between, I say younger, and then probably like high school age, because I was, like I said, I was serious about, I was business, but it got me to where I'm at right now.
Absolutely. So my last question, let's transition to that. How did you go from being an NFL player to a esports coach, gaming legend, all that good stuff?
Yeah. Oh man, how I got here, basically just like I mentioned, that grind of having a game plan for my next set, having goals of where to go. And the goal came around, and I've told this story a lot. And I met the player Lethal, who is a Halo pro, um, and I told him this story of how I got into coaching, because it motivated me. When I watch TV, how you watch TV sometimes, or you watch a movie, or you're on, scrolling on the social media, and you see something that happens in the world, and it could be good, bad, or indifferent. And this wasn't a bad thing, but it was a little in gray area thing. When I saw him watching the X Games in 2016, where he quit during the tournament with his team and played on the other team because he was upset at his coach or teammate. And I'm like saying in my head, that would not happen in professional sports. Football, but you wouldn't see Michael Jordan quit the Bulls in a 5-game series to go play for the Pistons or the Lakers or whoever they're playing against because he got mad at Phil Jackson. Or myself getting mad at Coach Sherman or Coach McCarthy and say, "Hey, Coach, I'm gonna go play for the Bears because I didn't like you. I didn't like that play call." So that happened. So that motivated me to say, you know what? Not that it was bad coaching in the esports world, professional teams. No, it was good coaching because there's a lot of good teams. But I see myself there because I understand as a player and how a coach or teammate works. I understand the whole dynamic of being a team player, because the team player is not just the players that are playing the game. A team player is also the coach. They got to understand their role too. Coach is just somebody that's there to guide the players from developing them into better players and keeping them from making mistakes or learning from mistakes. And so I knew that I could do that as a coach because I paid attention to details of my game as a football player. So I knew the ins and outs of being a running back. I knew the ins and outs of being a linebacker. I played that in high school. And I knew the ins and outs of just being an overall football player. The basics, the things that you needed to do and know. You had play recognition. You had to tackle. If you're on defense, you have to hold on to the ball if you're on offense. You have to catch the ball if you're a receiver. If you're a quarterback, you got to know how to throw a ball a certain way, or don't throw it at all because it's triple coverage. You got to know those things. So in the video game sense, I was like, well, I play a lot of games. I play Halo. I play Call of Duty. I play Madden. I play FIFA. I play NBA 2K. I'm not great at it, but I know I could coach it up. Also, League of Legends. I never played a lot of it, but I can coach it up. I know the team. Like I said, I know the team dynamic. So that's what got me going. And that's where that's one of the reasons. That's what got me going, and that's why I'm sitting in this seat right now.
I love it. I love it. That's cool.
You know, is that all the questions?
That's all I got for you.
Nice, man. Good questions, man. I like it.
Appreciate
I like
you.
it. You could tell you got the. We could Joe. You could throw you in here. Throw some more. When we have other guests in here, bring Jeremy on for some questioning.
Hey
I
man,
like it.
I've interviewed a person or two in my life, so
I could totally tell.
I
So
love it,
let's.
man. Just throw a little off script,
I
get
like
them
it.
going, get people thinking.
Yeah, it does. It does. All right. So let's get on to our next little Cisco quick hit news bites real quick before we hit this or that. Because this or that is going to be fun. And let's hit this. Actually, you know what? Let's do this or that. Let's have some fun first. I like to do the funness. So let me get everything set up. Close that off here. And let me hit the audio. Let the audio run. All right. John is usually here for this, but he's not. He's on spring break, which I wish I was with him.
Must be nice.
No, I just know he's having a good time with his family and friends. So here we go. First one up here, Jeremy and chat. We got split the bill or take turns paying. It's like when you go out with your friends, you definitely don't split the bill on a date. So we know just usually this is a with friends situation. Where are you at here? Split the bill or take turns paying?
For me, man, it depends on my friends. I'm not saying names, but I have one friend who probably owes us all a lot of money because Mr. Brett, I'll throw his first name out there.
Yeah.
Sometimes would never quite have the correct debit card that would work.
And he probably knows that going into it.
Oh, he knew. We call him, hey, don't use that one.
Right.
But I think, man, splitting the bill's usually good. If you're with a group of friends,
Yeah,
I'm cool with it.
Yep, I'm cool with that too. I mean, I don't mind. I'll say probably if I'm with that friend group that we know each other very well. Yes, I'll split the bill. But then I don't mind every now and then. Like it has to be a birthday. I'll say, you know what, we could take turns. I got it. Birthday type of situation, or just say, hey, if it's a date thing where like couple dating, like, well, we'll pay this one. It was our treat. I think that's weird. But I'll say I might have to go with splitting the bill overall. We have Big B. He says taking turns. And Renaissance, hey man, how you doing? It's been a while. Split the bill with friends. Pay fully on a date. See? Great minds think alike right there. Renaissance. All right, here we go. Next one up on the deck here. This is an interesting one. I don't know what I was thinking here. When I wrote it, I'm like, I'm reaching here. So volcano or mountain?
I was trying to dig in the mind of Ahman on that one when I saw that last night. I was like, where is he going with this? But
I mean, after I wrote it, I was like, I was going to erase it. Then I was like, no, I'm going to just throw it in there and see what happens. Volcano or mountain, chat or Jeremy.
Man, I'd probably say mountain. I like how the mountains look. You can walk up them and not, as long as you're dressed appropriately. You can be all right, man. Volcanoes, they're kind of designed to explode whenever they really feel like it. So I don't know how I feel about hiking up a volcano.
Yeah, you seen that Will Smith his National Geographic show that he does, and I think he was on a volcano in like the first episode. I think that's where that's where I got the idea from. Because I'm like, because you could be in the volcano or around it where it's kind of like quiet. But it's still, you hear the lava moving and all that. So, but yeah, I'm not Will Smith. I don't have a lot of money to go up a volcano like that with a tour guide. So I'm with you. I'm on a mountain, a nice sunny day, have my backpack or water bottle, get to the top, fresh air hitting you. That's all. That's good. That's good for the soul. So we got Hinder E says mountain for sure. And BR Facial, what's good, man? It's been a while since we've seen you. He also said mountain is easy. Yes, indeedy. Fat and greedy. Man, you got to be careful. That's the only worst thing is like in Seattle, when I lived there, it was every spring, it was the mountain lions attacking people hiking in certain areas. They probably shouldn't have been, because because the wild animals, that you're in their territory.
I was gonna say that's their home. You're
That's
just a
their home.
visitor.
You walk in, yeah. Once they walk in our house, then they in our house. But then we walk in the backyard, up some trees. You in their neck of the woods here. All right. So next one on the list here: cook as you clean, or clean up at the end when you're making a meal at home. I always get on my wife about this one because she is the clean up at the end, but it might be in the morning. I'm like, girl, like you didn't. I could have did that. I could have helped you. You should have said something. If you were tired, I would have cleaned up. So where you at on this one, Jeremy?
Man,
She gonna not like me on that one.
I am clean as I cook, man.
You clean? Say that again.
I'm clean as I cook.
Gotcha.
I
me
like
too.
I like it to be clean when I'm done cooking because after I eat, I don't want to start. I'm not going to clean it. I know that.
Me too. I'll clean as I go. Like soon as I finish something, I'll wrap it up. Especially when I'm in for the night when it's dinner time. Because like breakfast, I kind of wait till the end because I want to get everything done, and then I'll clean it up once I either get back home later. But dinner, yeah, I start doing it because I have time. It's no rush. This is the end of the day. So Big B, clean it up or clean at the end, and BR Facial says clean as he cook with a big kitchen. That might change. Oh, he sounds like he's moving to a bigger kitchen. Oh,
moving on up.
Yeah. Big B says, but if it's frozen pizza, I'll wash the pan before I eat. And then Hinder E says, my mom would be mad at my answer, but clean at the end for me. Oh, well, at least you're cleaning. She got to know that. At least you're cleaning, Hinder, and not leaving a mess. Not leaving a mess. This one I like. This next one I like. This has been part of my life for a long time here. Pep talk or motivational quote. Excuse me. Wow, not a Coke, not a soda. Motivational quote. I need to get back doing that on Mondays. I used to do motivational Monday post. I need to get back on that. What about you, Jeremy? Where you at? Pep talk or motivational quote?
Man, I'm big on motivational quote, man. Things like affirmations, things like that. But it's tough because one of my favorite speakers is a motivational speaker, Dr. Eric Thomas.
Okay.
And so with him, man, I feel like listen to him, you run through a wall while you're cleaning dishes. It's just so, I think
it. Yeah. I think he's the one on he does posts all the time, right?
Yep.
The name sounds familiar. I think I know he's kind of, I'm not saying he's yelling, but he got a firm voice. Yep, I think I know you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, he's doing a lot of stuff with the NFL and things like that. But sometimes from him, but sometimes I like a nice quote too. So I'd have to say it's tough. I think I'm a little bit more neutral, but I think it depends on the situation for me.
Got it. I'm gonna go motivational quote. I like those because especially ones now, like not the quote itself, but you could save it. I could screenshot it, save it in my Instagram inventory or whatever, so I could go back to it and read through it. I like to click them, save them, and then go back. And when I have in a day where I got to get through something, or I want to tell my kids, "Hey, man, look at this quote right here that it says a lot." And some of it sounds the same, but you guys, like you said, those affirmations, those reminders of keeping the course. Big B says pep talk for him. Is it halftime pep talk or pregame pep talk? That's what I know. You got to fill that in for us, Big B. All right. Of course, to wrap this thing up, I had to throw this one in here because you watch sports, you watch things. Jeremy, watch esports or you play the game or play esports?
Man, I am 100% watch esports. I was Twitch before I was Twitch. It was Twitch before it was Twitch, man.
Right.
I grew up loving watching my friends play video games. One of my college rugby teammates, Wesley Wayso, I think we watched him play Grand Theft Auto probably 6-7 hours a day on Sundays. Just because it was
sit
entertaining.
Next to him and watch.
We just chill and watch. It was almost like an in-studio Twitch, if you will.
There you go.
So it was one of those, and I had stopped playing kind of video games like that. So by the time I would try to jump back on, I'd get crushed. I mean, mine's N64. I can still put kids to work on that.
I got you. We're gonna have to play one day because I love 64. I like any retro console. Period. Any retro console. I say the only one I didn't really play a lot on was Commodore. The Commodore from like the early '80s, but like Atari 1600, and then I think the 3200, ColecoVision, Nintendo, and Sega. Yeah, those are. If anybody has one that's working, let me know. I'll stop by. I'll pull up and we could play some couch co-op Legend of Zelda or something. I was just telling some of the kids about that. The old Legend of Zelda to now, it's definitely changed. But no, we were just talking about it. That's what it was. We were just talking about it before we started the stream today. So it's a fun game, and it's totally updating. We're gonna talk about here next in quick hit news bites. Let me get to the clip here. Where are you at? I got all these tabs. There we go. There's the one. Let me take you off. Boom. So I'm gonna get my screen ready for the quick hit news bites here. Where are we at? Where's that at? I'm lost, Jeremy. Here we go. Boom. Got that out the way. All right, here we go. Sharing. Oh, get here. And sharing my screen now. Boom.
There we go.
All right. Let me get that out of there. I love it. This is how podcasts go down.
I love it.
There we go. All right. Finally. God bless. I got a lot of stuff going on. Hold on. I got to get that out of there too. There we go. Gotta have my read in front of me. So I picked up this story because I always try to keep everyone fully aware of, especially since 2020, in that time where it was a lot of, we had COVID, we had social injustices, and we had video game companies that were put on notice of the way, like it was Activision Blizzard. We remember they were going through their whole frat boy culture, being found out and being put on the front in terms of what are y'all going to do to change your company, to change things. And so Xbox has been one of those companies that's been every year since COVID, they've been what I call move the change. They've been keeping the change moving and keeping things fresh, trying to help gamers, developers. And so here they're helping gamers and developers here at the same time. So if you go, this is by way of gaming biz or gameindustry.biz, and it talks about, where Xbox, the title, as you see there, Xbox, we can't reach the billion of gamers without underrepresented creators. And so in the defining of that, James Lewis, who is pictured here, he's the senior creator partner programs lead at Xbox. So their goal is basically to try to get to 300 billion gamers in the world that they're aware of. And I say some of the little bit of how, right now they got two digital, they got a digital Xbox and they have the Series Xbox where you put a disc in and you run, and the digital is Wi-Fi only, so that's helping out, a certain, I say category of people that can only, I guess Wi-Fi only on some of their games. And then they have releasing the Xbox Game Pass on PC, where games are on there for you can download from anywhere, and I see including to your PC. And then also they are now working on a mobile app as well. I know with the Xbox app that's out now, you still have access to your Game Pass games. And some phones, if you have obviously a big enough screen like the iPhone Pro Max or Samsung, any of the Samsung bigger phones, you could sit and play those games on your phone. So they're finding ways to get their product out there. They're finding ways to then develop different from the games and to the access of the games for the gamers in the world. And so another one is what they're doing. This is Microsoft has to get, they want to get their games out there to appeal. They got to make sure it appeals to different nationalities, genders, ages, sexualities, ethnicities, and people with disabilities, social media or social economic backgrounds, like I mentioned, with the digital Xbox, and making sure they're networking in places like Southeast Asia, India, parts of Africa. And so with this whole program that is, say, pushed on by Mr. Lewis here. And so you could go, if you're a developer, so if you're a person that's creating a game, you could go to right here in this line right here, ID Xbox Developer Acceleration Program. So that explains how you can, support or I say hand in your work if it's a game that you develop, and if it's out of AAA game, then you're going to get seen. And so you go to that link and learn the process of that program. You can help get your game out there and get noticed. So that's the beautiful part. Like what I found about this article, I'm like, yes, got to talk about this. Haven't hit something like this in a while. So I'm this good. I'm happy to hear that Xbox is doing something, because I remember some of the things that were already there that they've been doing for about 3 or 4 years now was when you have toxicity in your chat in your headsets, you could report them if you see their gamer tag. Remember it, and actually some of it you could remember it. Go to who you played with last within the Xbox menu, and you could report them for the harassment of whatever they said to you. So that was one. And then now I know they've done other content creator programs for content creators of marginal cultures that don't really get seen. And so now they're doing this for developers and for the gamers, getting the information out there, getting different ways you can interact with the games. So, for me, I like this. And this was actually announced last week at GDC, the Game Developers Conference in San Francisco. So I'm pretty sure this was a big topic that was talked about there, Jeremy.
Yeah, absolutely. And man, and we talked about this a little bit before, but I just think representation is so important. Everything from video games to museums to just kind of how we see the world as a whole. I growing up in Milwaukee, I went to the Milwaukee Public Museum quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
There on the second, I think third floor actually, they have the Guatemalan marketplace. And for
Oh, wow.
me, as a
Nice.
kid from, it had to have been elementary school, that was the first time I really saw myself as part of history. Saw something that looked like me,
Mm-hmm.
be part of the narrative, not just a byproduct of what happened in history, but actually being an active member. And so when I saw this article, man, that really hit home. Where I think when people can see themselves as something that's possible, it actually becomes possible in their minds, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because you see somebody that represents you, or you be like, hey, that person looks like me, or this game I'm playing from a gamer standpoint, this is something that is in my preferences of the games I like to play. But that's might be developed, and then it's probably because somebody developed that game that's from your same type of background, that just had the opportunity, to get that game out there. And so part of the program um, is in the pilot stages. So it says, although Lewis says there are some slots left, there's a limited number of developers that they're working with right now. So, however, there's not such a limit of the porting, the educational components of the program. So it says so exactly. The program is going to help grow, like you said, grow those other areas of the world, the Black, Indigenous, Latino, LGBTQ, IA plus communities, women, developers with disabilities, or developers, disabilities, people with disabilities, excuse me, and urban emerging markets to team with that definitely have those unique perspectives and just a different experience, and then when the characters, even the video game characters, look like yourself. Or as I remember, with playing the game Gears of War, and I didn't realize till I went down to Mexico City in 2019 for a Gears of War tournament, how how that game had a big influence on the Mexican culture down there. And because obviously, that game probably has 2 or 3 Latino characters in it, and it was shown when I got to that city and watched that tournament. The crowd not only obviously supporting the teams that were competing, but it's like it was plain. It was obvious to me, like, this is why this game is popular down there. It has representation of their background, of their people who look like them in the game. That's why it's popular down in Mexico City. So it's just like, you gotta make sure you keep moving the chain to keep this relevant in everybody's mindset, because then everybody stays aware. Developers to down at the bottom, the fans stays aware of why we're here and why we're trying to continue to grow with each other, not just in the gaming industry, but I say the world in general, because we got a lot of craziness going on too. We already know that, Jeremy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, Robbie Scott, thank you. Appreciate that, man. Like I said, always trying to keep people on notice and find great articles of what the gaming companies are doing, because as we know what everything they're doing bad, or that's frustrating us with the game, So now this shines a little light on some of the good that's being done out there in terms of the developers, and where they're trying to make the gaming space safe, inclusive, and diverse. And me and Jeremy were talking before the stream. We're like, we forget with the, wasn't sure what the E, but it's equity, having that equity as well in the DEI mantra of gaming and then just in the business world itself. You got to have that awareness of who's all in the room and who's all being represented at the same time in the room. So I'm going to head on to another fun one. So great information right there. And I'll say more getting your job going in terms of being in the space of DEI. But then this is just get straight up gaming time right now. So everybody knows Legend of Zelda. And so with the new game coming out, Tears of a Kingdom, and this is by way of Kotaku.com, they had the producer, EJ Numa, if I'm saying that correct. I know I'm probably not, so apologies. Walks players through the new abilities and mechanics like weapon fusing in the new Tears of a Kingdom of Legend of Zelda. So what he's referring to in that line right there, so you now have starting off with recall powers, and you could I might let this clip, I might just let the video run for a little bit so you could just check that out. He does a lot better than me. He knows.
Hello, everyone.
So there you go. Oh, the Mr. Buffering. There's the buffering.
I'm Eiji Aonuma, producer of the Legend of Zelda series. First, I have some news. Development on The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is now complete. Thank you very much for waiting. Many of you are looking forward to this game, and we've released a few trailers so far. Although it'll just be a brief glimpse, I'm going to actually play the game for you all today and show you what it's like.
Yeah, so we're going to get some nice gameplay here.
Okay.
And I'm not going to let it run
Let's
the
begin.
whole 13 minutes, but let it run so you can see some of the little
Here we are,
adjustments
in the
and
land of
things
Hyrule.
that are going on in the game itself. When you
Like The
when
Legend
game
of
comes
Zelda
out
Breath of the
May
Wild,
12th
there's a vast
of this
world
year.
to explore. Of course, it's not just the same world as is. It's changed in many ways. If we talk about all of the changes today, we'll run out of time, so we hope you'll seek them out for yourself when the game launches.
So the graphics
In
look the
this
same
game,
first
the
off,
vast
so,
world of Hyrule
which I always like.
reaches high
for
into
Legend
the
of Zelda.
sky.
The graphics.
You'll
are on
notice
point.
some land masses
It's a
floating
different,
up
more
there.
like a comic book.
We call them Sky
book-ish
Islands.
Look, which is very cool. You see that in a lot of games. I know JoJo.
You're probably wondering
Bizarre
something.
Adventure fighting
How do you
games
get to the
kinda
Sky
like that.
Islands when they're so
That
high
real
up?
True to life graphics.
Oh yeah,
If we take a
I've,
look,
I've always loved how they've
Something's falling
done
from the
those
sky.
graphics.
Mm-hmm.
do you see it? I wonder what that is.
So this is one
Let's
of
head
the
over
first
to it.
little things that's been added to the game right here coming up.
We're almost at the spot where the object fell. Here it is. Okay,
Same
let's
mechanics
use
here,
one of Link's
turning
new
the-
abilities. If you do this on the rock that just fell, look, it started rising.
Interesting. There
This
you go.
power is known as recall, which rewinds an object's movement. Since I just used recall on the fallen rock, I can now rise into the sky. We're a lot closer to the Sky Islands. Let's use the paraglider to reach one of them.
Yeah. So I'm gonna let that. I'm gonna mute that, and so I could, because I want to push on through, get through the other parts of the show here. But as you, oh no, I'm almost gonna let the video keep playing now. Let the video keep playing. But like I mentioned, so they got the recall power there. They also have the fuse power, where it lets Link combine two objects, like a branch into a boulder, and then you could most likely create a weapon, which becomes a weapon like a hammer. So usually, if you remember, if you play Breath of the Wild, you could attack with a branch. You just pick it up if you didn't have no more swords or arrows in your sleeve there. So now you actually to take the branch, walk over to a rock, and fuse it together. And I don't know if I'll be able to get to the one cool part is you could take like a big tree, those big trees like you see in the background there, and chop them up where he creates a boat and these little fan pieces. I might just scroll to it where you can actually create a boat or different vehicles from a hovercraft to a car in Hyrule. So this is one thing I never thought I would be doing, is driving a car in Hyrule. Jeremy,
Yeah.
or in Legend of Zelda at all. But you could build these things out with the different powers that they've added to the game, and I'm like, they're pretty much they've been sitting. You could tell been doing their research on gaming. What games people like, and like games that are like Minecraft or Fortnite, where you're creating things, building things, and they're it sees Nintendo is showing Nintendo's showing that they're paying attention to the gamer side of it to understand what they're going to like. And there's the hammer creation right there. So you got that big. That definitely is a deadly weapon right there.
Oh yeah. I just love how they continue to just expand and kind of develop while keeping, the characters, but finding, new worlds and new ways to go on those adventures.
Yeah. I mean, this story has been 40 years, almost 40 years, if not 35, like between 35, 40 years. Because I remember playing this on the first NES in 1984, 85, the gold disc of Legend of Zelda, which was a top-down scroll game, and never thought I would see it in a 3D form like it is today. And now the weapons you basically, your little sword was an 8-bit sword that we see people carrying around at Comic Cons now or video game events as kind of like a fan thing. But now you could create, like he just fused a long stick to the pitchfork right there. So it's bringing some little different things to the game, fun games that now you could think about. And so right here you could mold an arrow. He puts a leaf on the first one, but I think later he does the ice, so it makes it an ice arrow, and you could freeze the object or the villain or one of the NPCs on the map that may cause you harm. So I was like, oh man, I know a lot of Legend of Zelda fans out there, and this is going to be right up their alley. So check it out. Like I said, it was on Kotaku.com. You can watch the rest of this video if you please. If not, read the article too. It gives you a lot more details of what is coming down the line for Legend of Zelda and when the game drops here in about a month, a little bit over, or 2 months, in about a little bit over 2 months right now. So, all right, we're going to get on over. We did this or that. Oh, man, we are close to the end of the show already, man. We've been moving right along. I didn't even realize that. We're rolling. We're going to go into what's on stream. Did I do game? Oh, no, game releases. I'm sorry. Yep. Game releases. I got a little bit ahead of myself. So I was just looking at things. I didn't see everything. So there's the game releases. All right. We got the game releases coming. We got some fun games, innovative games, cool games. Let me get this one set up. Here, stop you. And get this popped up real quick. I'm on one-man band here, getting things set up. Just have patience with me. All right. All right, where we at here? Almost there. Going from one little screen to another. There we go. Enchanted. Hold up. The name is a little play on words here. It is in, so INN, like for hotel. Enchanted. So it is a run of a magical inn, so like a hotel. You go to a hotel. I mean, actually get the vibe. And you with friends. So you're all by an evil village landlord. So you team up with your friends to reclaim your family's legacy, manage your inn, brew potions, fish, cook, and fight in this hectic and heartfelt magical adventure. You can play solo or you can play co-op. There it is, co-op. The 1 to 4 friends. The game came out yesterday on the 28th. If you did pre-order it, there was a 15%. You get a chance to play 15%. And you receive exclusive costumes for your character when you do the pre-order as you do in any game. So you can find more information about this game. It's on, I believe it's on all platforms. You can get it at Steam. They have a Twitter account, Facebook, and also TikTok. So when I tag them on TikTok, when you make that clip, Jeremy, I will get some good follows there. So that was a real quick preview of Peggy was it Enchanted? So
Enchanted.
there you go.
I like it.
Love, fun little game there. Little family oriented game with the graphics and everything. So you gotta love it. Gotta love it.
You know, it makes it fun to play, get kids to play video games, which I have to laugh because I think that's a changing trend now. You're like, oh, yeah, I want my kid to, you know, play some video games more so than I think when we were growing up. You know, what are you gonna do with a video game?
Exactly. You gotta play it. All right. And so this next game coming up, is a game that we know we're very aware of because the TV show just wrapped up not too long ago. It is The Last of Us coming on PC now. So I mean, if you haven't played this game and if you hadn't seen the series, here you go. It's on PC now.
After all we've been through.
And it's going to be obviously a different experience just from the graphic standpoint, emotional storytelling, and unforgettable characters. You got Joel, you got Ellie, and they won over 200 Game of the Year awards out there. That guitar sound, that bass line right there, not bass line, but that guitar sequence, when you hear it, you know you're watching Last of Us. So they have that familiar melody. You know, in a ravaged civilization where infected and hardened survivors run rampant, Joel, as we know, a worried protagonist, is hired to smuggle 14-year-old Ellie out of a military quarantine zone. However, what starts as a small job soon transforms into a brutal cross-country journey, as we know.
Hey, it's Dana from StreamYard. I'm so excited to.
I didn't put it on loop. Go back. There we go. So, like I said, cross-country journey for Joel and Ellie. So great game. I mean, I think I have both. I know I have both. I have it on PlayStation 3. That's when it originally came out. And I have PlayStation 4. That's when part 2 came out. And then eventually we've heard the talks that PlayStation is going to make another series along with, you know, Sony or what have you. So it's maybe, and then another game potentially. They haven't really said it, but we know hopefully here in the near future. And I think they saw the viewership, and I'm pretty sure. I mean, they know the viewership of this game, of the series. I mean, to get ready for season 3 or game 3, and then eventually season 2. So that's going to be exciting to see.
Yeah, man. I mean, frankly, it just makes financial sense for them.
True. Yeah. You know? And you just say, look at the money.
Like, I've been loving that series so far. I joined a little late, but it's been very enjoyable thus far. You know, yeah. I love with the show, man, when they make those kind of video game cuts, and if you play games, you know, okay, this is exactly how, you know, a video game would do it, but it's a live action. So, again, props to them for that show.
Yep, it is. It is good. It hits all the, as they say, heartstrings of when you're watching it, and it tells you everything you would do, or it shows you things that you probably wouldn't do to stay safe, or things you would do, you know, in a zombie apocalypse. I've talked about this in my intro to esports class, so it's pretty cool. I can bring this up. Reference Last of Us, one of my favorite RPGs that's been out in the last few years here. So let's get over to, we're wrapping this show up with what's on stream here. I gotta take my hands off the paddle there and get ready for what's on stream. Get everything queued up. So we got season 3 of The Mandalorian, episode 20, or I'm gonna say chapter 20, excuse me, episode 4 of The Foundling. So here we go. Let's play there. So in this episode here, we see a lot of cool stuff. Let's just start off there. I've always, with Star Wars, obviously, I have a liking to seeing lightsabers. So there you go. We see a lot of this. So this is Din Djarin returns to the hidden Mandalorian convert. So the flashback, as you're seeing right here, let me pause it here. And I think a lot of people would know that if you're deep into the lore of just Star Wars, you knew right away when you saw the actor right here, Ahmad Best, who was also, they just showed a quick clip of Jar Jar Binks. And so you see him being used again, and it was funny. We were talking about this, Jeremy, off with me and Jeremy talking about this, that whenever I watched Phantom Menace, and my friends that also watched it, they totally did not like Jar Jar Binks. I'm like, man, it was comic relief.
He was funny, man. He was funny.
Funny, yeah. Why take it? Why be like, I hate Jar Jar Binks? But to those fans, as I'm talking now, it just kind of clicks in. Now look what the actor is doing. He is a Jedi Master, saving Grogu. And so aligning, bringing more story arc, another arc to that saga there, because now we know how Grogu survived and where he was. So he is a part of the original timeline and not a new timeline. So he was in the Jedi Temple during Order 66. To see that was like, oh, it's like, oh man. So he was a foundling or youngling that was getting trained in the Jedi Temple that you see him burn there in the background. And we all know about Order 66 since we're a Star Wars fan. Lord Sidious, him and Darth Vader, or Lord Sidious created the plan, and then Darth Vader executed it along with the stormtroopers to eliminate all of the Jedis out there. And so now another fun thing, you see Grogu getting some gear, man. I'm
finally, give this man some gear.
I can't wait to see him actually walking around in the Mandalorian suit, just like myself. I want to be in one now. But you're gonna see little Grogu. He got his little first bulletproof vest put on there by the armorer. So I thought that was neat. And you just see more of the history of the Mandalorian and how the younglings, or the foundlings, as the episode is called, are created into the Mandalorian lore. And that you don't have to be born Mandalorian to become a Mandalorian, to find that out too. I thought that was very interesting, because as you know, with any other, in most cultures in the world, like we were talking about culture earlier, like to be a part of a tribe, you have to be born within that tribe, usually to have the tattoo or have the markings. But in here, it's saying, no, you don't have to be born, but you learn that way. And I think leaders, as we know, the leaders that have been in my life, from my parents to, my coaches and teachers, we're obviously not all related. But to say that you could still be a part of this, you just got to know and live by these guidelines to be a Mandalorian. So I thought that was pretty neat. What about yourself, Jeremy?
Man, I loved it. I love the use of flashbacks. I mean, I love these series because I think they have a little bit more of the freedom than the movies do to kind of try new things, do it differently than it might have been done in the past. But I've loved how the story is developed, and man, you just want more of it each week.
Yeah, and once I started to see, when I saw My Best and I saw the Jedi sequence, and I'm just like, okay, I got that. We got that coming at us. Grogu's gonna get him a suit. I'm like, that's gonna be the smallest Mandalorian helmet and costume made. And to see him walking around in is gonna be interesting, because we never really seen his legs. Legs are kind of like in that little outfit he had. But I love the fight scene where that's coming up here, where they're doing their training, and the one kid is there. He's a little cocky, obviously, and he's like, oh man, I got this little guy. I don't want to hurt him, but since we got
he's too small. He's too
small. That's what he says. He's too small, and Mando already knows. He's like, look, I've seen stuff that he's done. He's talking to Bo-Katan there. And he's like, she's like, you good? Is he okay doing this? And he's like, and Mando, and we know, yeah, he's more than good. He might. I was waiting. I thought he was going to lift him and throw him in the water and not just jump over him with 2 backflips and hit him with the 3-piece in the chest. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, but we knew he was going to do something and show off his powers and what he has within him. So very cool in that sequence there. And I just like, I say, with the whole Mandalorian culture, and that's the little darts that they're showing right there. I just like how they're like special trained berets. They're that elite. They're like what we called here back in the day, and hopefully be back soon with the new coaching staff for the football team, the black shirt defense. Like, our defense was those guys. These were starters. They were mostly first round draft picks once they got out of here, but we know they were the badasses of all badasses on the football field. So that's like Mandalorians. Like when who was it a few weeks ago referenced me as the Mandalorian, and I know this. I'm like, you know what? I am a resident badass. Thank you.
That man, hey man, it made me you got me thinking. So high school football, our Coach John D'Amato, huge Nebraska fan. Our starters all got black shirts, and that was you got your black practice squad shirt. And the best thing was, if you weren't acting right, you got taken away real quick. I mean, no one wants the shame of having to take off the black jersey. But
I gotta stop it there so I can see Grogu dance right here.
Yeah,
but
man.
no, as you saying, yes, so you figured out like y'all were the badasses, of your team there, and that coach to know that, to bring that to y'all and to teach all those ways is kind of like the Mandalorian way. This is the way. Or what was the other line they were saying in this episode? If do not speak if you don't know. So basically, if you don't know what you're talking about, don't say it.
Exactly.
That's what that little kid said. He's like, oh, he's small. Then he said, if you don't know, don't speak or something. I know I'm not quoting it right, but I'll find the line here and talk about it next week. But yeah, so they're just seeing the potential of Grogu, because we've seen Yoda. Seeing that fight with him and Dooku back in Clone Wars, that was dope. To see little guy flipping and jumping around, that just shows you the potential of what my man Little Grogu can bring to the table, what a lot of people don't know, and like this young kid found out in his little matchup against Grogu here. So I know right now. So we got episode 5 dropping tonight. I don't know what else to expect. I like surprises, so I'm ready for more surprises. What about yourself,
man?
Jeremy?
I can't wait, man. I think they're just gonna keep throwing surprises at us, because I think we see the potential of Grogu, but we don't exactly know. We know Yoda is the same species, but Yoda is obviously much farther along on his journey, and maybe one of if not the greatest, one of the greatest Jedis ever. It's exciting to kind of see how he's going to continue to develop and kind of even become more of a character.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting. And like I said, I love surprises, so I can't wait to tune in tonight. Or it's actually up now. It's not tonight. It probably went live midnight, so it's actually active now. So tonight when I get home,
exactly,
I'm gonna jump in and go in the living room, go to Disney Plus, hit play,
click and go.
Click that thing and go. So, man, that's we're at the end of the show. We just wrap things up. And Jeremy, man, thanks for jumping in and being our special guest this week. Great conversation. And if you look him up, you have all his social medias right here. I'm about to put it there at the bottom to get it running. That one, those 2 places has everything. I say if you go to the Instagram, you click the link tree, you literally see everything he does, which is tremendous work. A lot of work he gets done, but he's a pro at it, so he probably knocks it out. How quick do you make those clips? Because I know for me, it'll probably take me an eternity, like an hour, 3-4 hours. I'll probably be all over the place. What about yourself?
Man, when I'm rolling, maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours. If I'm listening live, it makes it a lot easier because I kind of mentally key on key moments, or Gilbert's the easiest because he says something funny. You're like, all right, I know right here, I'm going to start clipping this and see if it's going to be 1 part or 2 part. And then, the third part is going to be Dorsey's response. So it's, man, I mean, it makes it so much easier. And, with the shows too, like we know we're doing this or that. So we know we can clip, a couple, but a couple hours if I'm not listening to it live. This one, I won't lie, will probably take longer because I've always struggled with editing myself because you hear your voice.
Yeah.
You start thinking about, I should have done this. I should have, I said, a lot, or, oh, you betcha. I think I saved it this time, but
just watching like me watching a football game. I'm like, oh, he don't have it high and tight. He, or that was a bad, I'll say, trying to wrap up. He didn't wrap up real good on that tackle. You critique yourself. Same thing I do. I mean, I'm saying, I didn't say, like 3 times. The thing is that we're aware of it as commentators, and that's part of the profession. Some things you won't want to repeat unless it's something real funny.
Definitely, man. And the more and more you do it, it's funny because even you, man, I learned the cadence of your voice when you're about to say something. I can start clipping it from there and like, all right, he's going to say this, and I'll cut it into like a 40-second clip.
Right.
So you start to learn how people's kind of their voice pattern, how they speak, and what they say.
Nice. Hey, then that's why you got the talent, man. Just putting in that work and keep it
Appreciate you,
going.
man. Thanks again for having me, man. I really, it's been good.
Yep, appreciate you. You're welcome. And so everyone will be back next week. Same back channel, same back channel. I will be in the podcast room. I went on to the website and I put the scheduled time in. So I got the podcast room for the rest of the semester. I planned it out. I got that time. I took it.
Let's go.
So people are might be mad at me here at the journalism college, me owning the podcast room on Wednesdays from I think it was 10:15 to 12:15. So, my setup and then potentially overtime of the show, because usually it's an hour, but like this one, we went a little longer, but it's worth it because we talked to my man, Jeremy, and we're talking about Grogu. So when it's a combination of that, you could go overtime anytime.
Can't lose.
So,
you can't lose there.
Can't lose there, man. Everybody's going to enjoy the show. So everybody have a great rest of your hump day because today is Wednesday. I know I'm looking at clear skies and maybe 50 degrees. I don't know about you, Jeremy.
It's not bad. It's not snowing. It's not snowing. So in Wisconsin,
there you go.
Be nothing but good.
That's a win. That's a great day. It's no snow in almost March. I mean, end of March, almost April. Okay, so that's a win in Wisconsin. So everyone, again, in the chat, thank you for jumping in. Renaissance, Big B, the Bear fan, man, how you doing? BRF Facial, appreciate your trolls from the UEL. I popped in here right at the end. So everybody have a great rest of your week and see you next week in here, chit chat, having a good time with us, talking about more video games. Peace.